Welcome to another nightmare narrative. Art of the Hitcher. Those who stop never reach their destination. The police finally had a name to match the killer's face. After weeks of dead ends, a single thread led them back to the place where Harvey once wore his quiet smile, the Riverland Veterinary Clinic. Two detectives arrived just before closing time, their boots scuffing against the linoleum floor. They asked for a full audit of the clinic's drug stock, especially the horse tranquilizers. The veterinary nurse, Harvey's longtime colleague, stared at them in disbelief. "You must be mistaken," she whispered, her voice trembling. This is so out of character for him. Harvey was always dedicated, compassionate, incredibly professional. Her eyes glistened as she spoke, her hands tightening on the counter. She told them about his devotion to the animals, the long nights he'd spent nursing sick foals back to health, and how everyone had trusted him, completely. But as the detectives quietly exchanged glances, the truth was already unraveling in the spaces between her words. The nurse struggled to reconcile the gentleman she knew with the horrifying accusations now surrounding his name. The police persisted, bringing her in for questioning that stretched on for hours beneath the hum of flickering fluorescent lights. They pressed for details, any detail, about Harvey's recent behavior. Had he seemed distracted, agitated, distant? At first, she shook her head, wringing her hands. "No," she murmured. He was his usual self. Calm, caring, always kind. Then, after a long pause, something surfaced, a flicker in her memory. "The last client he saw," she said softly. "It was a dog. Poor thing had died of dehydration. He was so upset about it." Her voice faltered, and the room fell silent. One detective leaned forward, eyes narrowing slightly. "Tell us more about that dog." "I don't know why it affected him so much," the nurse admitted, brow furrowed as she revisited the memory. "Harvey's dealt with animals passing before. It's part of the job. He's always been calm, composed, even in the hardest moments. But this time, he seemed different. Distressed, almost." Her words lingered in the air, fragile as dust motes drifting through the slanted afternoon light. Despite her insight, the detectives soon realized she wouldn't be their key witness. Still, she offered something they couldn't ignore, a detail that made both of them lean forward. There were tranquilizer vials missing from the clinic's inventory. But not enough. Not nearly enough to account for the number of killings now tied to Harvey's name. When asked where he might have gone, the nurse only shook her head, a helpless sadness crossing her face. "I have no idea," she whispered. "He's always been private. Jokes around at work, sure. But about his life? Nothing. As far as I know, he doesn't even have a partner." The detectives exchanged a quiet glance. Somewhere out there, Harvey had simply vanished, and the trail was growing cold. Back at headquarters, the evidence board had become a maze of chaos. Harvey's photograph dominated the center, his calm, expressionless face staring back through a tangle of red string and scribbled notes. Each new lead, each dead end, branched outward like a spider's web spun from obsession. Around it, the detectives hovered in weary silence, coffee cups cooling beside stacks of reports. Despite the growing pile of evidence, the same question gnawed at all of them. How do you catch a man who's always one step ahead? Was Harvey carefully orchestrating every move, predicting their next question before they asked it? Or had he simply vanished by chance, a ghost swallowed by the outback? The uncertainty weighed heavy in the stale air. Every unsolved file, every missing person's name pinned to that board was a reminder. Time was running out, and Harvey was still out there. Harvey sat quietly in the passenger seat beside his next prey, Matt. Everything had gone exactly as planned. The easy smile, the polite tone, the grateful hitchhiker routine. Matt had fallen for it all without question. For nearly an hour, they'd cruised along the shimmering highway, the hum of tires filling the silence. Then Matt groaned under his breath. "Don't the police have anything better to do with their time?" he muttered, spotting the flashing lights ahead. Of all places to set up an RBT. Harvey didn't respond. His expression stayed perfectly still, eyes hidden behind his lashes as he leaned his seat back. "I think I'll catch a quick snooze," he said calmly, tugging his jacket up over his head to block the glare. It was a small, unremarkable gesture, lazy, casual. But beneath that calm facade, Harvey's mind was spinning. A random breath test wasn't part of his plan, and he knew better than anyone that the smallest distraction could be fatal. When they reached the checkpoint, a police officer stepped forward, raising a gloved hand for Matt to pull over. Matt rolled down his window, offering a polite nod despite the irritation still tugging at his features. "Where are you headed today?" the officer asked, voice steady beneath the hum of cicadas. "Just taking a drive," Matt replied casually, gesturing at the open road ahead. The officer leaned slightly, peering through the window. His eyes flicked toward Harvey, who lay motionless beneath his jacket in the passenger seat, appearing every bit the harmless drifter. Satisfied, the officer straightened. "All right, sir, I'll need you to blow into this." Matt took the breathalyzer, exhaling until the device chirped softly. A pause. Then the officer nodded. "All clear. You're good to go." Matt smiled faintly. "Haven't had a drink in years, recovering alcoholic." The officer returned a curt nod and waved them through. The ute rolled forward, dust kicking up beneath the tires. Behind the cover of his jacket, Harvey's lips curved into a thin, knowing smirk. Another close call. Another escape. He'd slipped through the cracks once again. The road stretched endlessly before them, narrow, sun-bleached, and empty. The faint buzz of cicadas filtered through the open window, carried on the scent of hot asphalt and eucalyptus. Matt chuckled, glancing at the man beside him. "You sleep through that?" he asked, shaking his head. "Lucky you." Harvey tilted his head slightly, the faintest of smiles curving his lips. "Yeah," he murmured softly. "Guess I did. Thanks for handling that." Matt grinned and shifted his gaze back to the road. The silence returned, thick and heavy. Only the steady hum of the engine filled the air. Beneath Harvey's calm exterior, the quiet was anything but peaceful. His mind ticked like clockwork, methodical and sharp. Each passing kilometer wasn't just distance, it was opportunity. And with every turn of the wheels, Matt's fate drew closer. The rhythmic hum of the engine had lulled Harvey into a light sleep, the kind that never reached true rest. He stirred when the car slowed, blinking as the motion changed from smooth highway glide to the uneven crunch of gravel. Matt pulled into a dusty roadside petrol station, a lone outpost in the middle of nowhere. Faded signage buzzed under flickering lights, and the scent of fuel hung thick in the warm air. Harvey shifted in his seat, stretching just enough to shake off the stiffness. Through the windshield, he watched Matt step out, casual as ever, the fuel nozzle clattering into the tank. A few minutes later, Matt called through the open window, "Gonna duck into the loo." Harvey's gaze followed him as he walked away. The corners of his mouth twitched, that faint, unreadable smile returning. Moments like this were rare, unscripted, unplanned, and yet they always seemed to fall neatly into place. An opportunity had just presented itself, and Harvey never wasted opportunity. He'd done this before. The cramped, forgotten restrooms of roadside petrol stations, isolated, echoing, perfect for his kind of work. Timing it just right, Harvey followed Matt into the narrow corridor. The air was thick with the scent of disinfectant and oil, fluorescent light flickering weakly above. Matt was only a few steps ahead when Harvey closed in, moving silently, a predator rehearsing familiar choreography. But this time, something was off. His hesitation, just a breath, a flicker of doubt, was all it took. Matt turned sharply, his shoulders slamming into Harvey's chest. "What the hell, mate?" Matt barked, eyes flashing with suspicion. Harvey stepped back, feigning embarrassment, an awkward smile twitching at the corners of his mouth. "Sorry, thought I grabbed the wrong door," he muttered smoothly. But Matt's instincts screamed otherwise. He pushed past, moving fast, boots scuffing against the concrete floor. Moments later, Harvey emerged into the cooling evening air, just in time to see the Utes' taillights flare red, then vanish into the dust. For a long moment, he stood there in silence, watching the empty road. The opportunity was gone, and Harvey hated losing. That night, the uneasy feeling lingered. Matt sat at his small kitchen table, picking at leftovers from the night before. He tried to push the sense of dread aside, chalking it up to paranoia. To distract himself, he flicked on the TV, hoping for the familiar comfort of his favorite show. But instead, a Crime Stoppers broadcast filled the screen. Grainy footage of a man's face appeared, stern, unsettling, and the announcer's voice urged anyone who recognized him to contact authorities immediately. Matt froze, fork suspended mid-air. It was him. The man he had picked up that afternoon, the hitchhiker whose calm demeanor had unsettled him at the petrol station. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone, heart racing, and dialed the police. Every detail he could recall spilled from his mouth. Every quirk, every quiet glance, every unsettling pause. The encounter that had seemed minor moments ago now felt urgent, dangerous, and irreversible. The next day, Matt sat under the harsh fluorescent lights of the interrogation room, recounting every detail of his encounter with Harvey. Two detectives listened, pens poised, eyes sharp. He described picking Harvey up near Billawheeler and the long drive to Emerald, the moment he'd sensed something was wrong, and why he had decided to leave him behind. "What do you mean by off?" one detective asked, leaning forward, voice calm but insistent. Matt hesitated. "I can't explain it. It wasn't anything," he said. "Just the way he carried himself. Like he was trying too hard to seem normal." The detectives exchanged a brief glance before prompting him to continue. Matt nodded, recalling the RBT stop. Harvey had reclined in the passenger seat, jacket over his head, silent and detached, so casual it had seemed polite at the time. But now, looking back, Matt said quietly, it felt calculated. Every detail, however small, was being added to the growing profile the detectives had on Harvey. They were closing in, inch by inch, yet the man had eluded capture before. Would this new lead be enough to stop him before he struck again? Unbeknownst to Matt, Harvey had already taken note of his address. While Matt had been distracted at the petrol station, wallet left open on the counter, Harvey's near photographic memory had captured every detail from his driver's license. Now, he had a new destination, one where he could channel his simmering frustration. Matt had stolen his prey, and Harvey never let things slip away. By late afternoon, Harvey arrived in the small, sleepy town where Matt lived. Using the credit card of his latest victim, a woman whose disappearance had gone unnoticed, he booked a quaint bed and breakfast near the edge of town. The location was perfect, secluded enough to go unnoticed, yet close enough to observe his target. Here, Harvey could blend in, appearing innocuous to anyone who crossed his path. And yet, beneath the calm exterior, every moment was spent preparing, planning, and watching. Every detail mattered. Every step was calculated. From the moment he arrived, Harvey became a shadow in the quiet streets. He watched Matt's house with unwavering focus, studying routines with unnerving precision. When Matt left for work, when he returned, how he spent his evenings. Even at night, Harvey lingered unseen, peering through windows, memorizing patterns, tracing every movement. Patience was a weapon, and Harvey had it in abundance. It didn't take long for him to notice something remarkable. The police surveillance on Matt had ended. And even better, Matt never locked his back door. Harvey's lips curved into a faint, private smile. The trap was almost effortless, almost perfect. One quiet night, the streets lay empty, and the town slept. Harvey moved like a shadow. Through the unlocked back door, he slipped silently, each step deliberate, measured. Days of observation had memorized the house layout. He navigated effortlessly. In moments, he stood at the bedroom doorway. Matt slept unaware, the soft rise and fall of his chest the only sign of life. Harvey paused. For a brief instant, his expression betrayed nothing, only calculation, patience, and detachment. Then, with the precision of someone who had done this countless times, he acted. A syringe, carefully held, delivered a quiet, lethal dose. Matt never stirred. Silence reclaimed the room. Once he was certain his victim was gone, Harvey paused. A quiet grin spread across his face, not of satisfaction at the act, but of something far more personal. He began to craft what he called his macabre masterpiece. On top of the television, he arranged a display, carefully selected facial slices, shadows falling just so, a stage for the drama only he could appreciate. To Harvey, it was poetic. Every line, every placement, was deliberate, a signature of control, obsession, and artistry. In the dark room, lit only by the glow of the streetlight through the window, his creation seemed almost alive, demanding attention in the silence. Harvey stepped back, admiring his work. To the world outside, it was a quiet, empty house. To him, it was a gallery of his mind. Harvey spent one final night at the bed and breakfast, meticulously ensuring he left no loose ends. By morning, he was gone. Quietly, efficiently, he vanished from the town as if he had never been there. He knew staying longer would be risky, neighbors might talk, B&B staff could be questioned, but Harvey had no intention of being caught. As he traveled toward his next destination, he kept up with the news, reading about his own crimes in the papers or on the screen. To anyone else, it would have been horrifying. To Harvey, it was nothing more than a narrative, an engrossing story unfolding, with characters distant, unreal, and utterly detached from him. He watched, he noted, he detached. The world was a stage, and he was always the unseen director. Harvey found it strangely entertaining, almost addictive. The way news anchors speculated about his motives, detectives fumbled through theories, and the public's fear mounted. It was a symphony of chaos he had orchestrated. In this grim performance, Harvey was the undisputed star. Yet he watched it all with cool detachment, as if someone else's tragedy were playing out on the screen. But headlines alone weren't enough. He knew he needed to adapt. His greatest strength had always been his ability to blend in. And now, it was time for a new act. Passing a costume shop, Harvey slipped inside, his eyes sharp and scanning. Rows of masks, wigs, and accessories lined the shelves, each a potential tool in his careful reinvention. He settled on a short blonde wig designed for men. Trying it on, it looked startlingly natural. Combine that with a clean shave, and he would be unrecognizable. Next, he stopped at a camping store, using cash left behind by his last victim. He purchased a small dome tent, a sleeping bag, and basic supplies. The idea was simple: lay low, retreat into nature, and watch the world continue to play out his drama while he remained invisible. For the first time, retreat had an almost appealing quality: solitude, safety, and the thrill of careful planning. Harvey drove until the outskirts of Mount McConnell, where a secluded spot among the trees caught his eye. The place was almost picturesque, leaves whispering in the wind, birds chirping in the distance, sunlight flickering through branches. Even postcards might envy it. Here, a strange calm settled over him. His transformation wasn't just physical. Gone was the sharp-dressed businessman, polished shoes clicking on pavement. In his place was a new Harvey, tie-dyed t-shirt, faded shorts, and well-worn thongs. Casual, carefree, almost ordinary. He liked it. A chameleon shedding one identity for another as easily as clothes. This was more than survival, it was reinvention. He could be anyone, anywhere. For a fleeting moment, Harvey sat beside his modest campfire, gazing up at the star-strewn sky. The stillness of the forest seeped into his mind, quieting the usual buzz of thoughts and impulses that drove him. Among the trees, shadows, and whispering leaves, Harvey felt something unfamiliar: peace. But peace for Harvey was fragile, precarious, and deep down, he knew it wouldn't last. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to others, so you don't miss an episode.